Hello again, SGBers, I'm Companion Wolf. Welcome to another Smile Game Builder tutorial. I thought I'd do another tips and tricks video, this time for treasure chests. The aim of this tutorial is to be as comprehensive as possible with as many methods as possible to add some dimension to your games. The entire tutorial is mostly based on the complete chest tutorial I did for RPG Maker, which is unfortunately now severely out of date. For anyone who's still interested in that, the link will be in the description below. SGB has a number of chest presets under searchables, 6 to be exact, so I won't dwell too much on them. I went through the events in one of my earliest tutorials, number 3.2, working with events, and revisited it briefly in number 14, player direction. Most of these are straightforward, but for the sake of consistency and the actual order on the RPG Maker Time site, I'm still including them in this tutorial. Depending on how long this all takes, I might split this into several parts because there are currently 16 in total, and because it covers quite a number of things chest related. Instead, after the intro, since I'm going to work directly from the RPG Maker tutorial, I'll mention the appropriate presets briefly as needed, but for the most part I'll just be diving right in for each one of the chests. For the basic chest, you can use any of the preset templates under searchables and extract the event details you want from both sheets. For the basic options, as you can see, you can quickly set up items to acquire money, an item or an important item like a quest item, or just display a simple message. Essentially, it's a 2-sheet event with sheet 1 for opening and obtaining the item, and sheet 2 for afterwards when the chest has been emptied. For most of the chests I'm using the empty chest preset and then just adding the contents around it. For a locked chest, the simplest way is to use check held items set to the key item. There are 4 defaults in SGB, and choose 1 when held. Under yes, this is where you can copy and paste the defaults, including the gold or the items that you need and the message that you obtained an item. And under no, simply put it, the chest is locked message. Sheet 2 stays the same. In most of these instances, you don't really have to alter sheet 2. Most of the stuff is actually on sheet 1. Now this will only open if you have the correct key. You can also add a lock-picking feature, which I'll cover later. To randomize the contents of the chests, we first set a number between, say, 1 and 3, and then if you're using the empty chest preset, you would delete the message and in its place put a 3-variable box check for each of the random numbers. So under each of the yes branches, you'd add your item. I chose a potion, 100 gold, and 5 antidote herbs, and then each one has its own obtain message. And right at the very end, that's when the local switch is turned on. So when the player opens up the chest, a random item or number of items will appear. On the RPG Maker site, the next one on the list is combination locks. Unfortunately, SGB doesn't have an input box for number combinations, so I'll have to skip this one for now and we'll revisit it in a future tutorial as and when this feature is added. I've included it here only for consistency. That said, there is actually a way you can do this without an input box using it's a combination of images, key presses and variables. It's a complex process and a pain in the ass to set up, but maybe again that'll be for a future tutorial for something a bit more visual than the norm. The next is a trapped chest. That is, when you open it, it'll trigger a random chest which will cause damage or affect the player's status. Trapped chests can also be used to add an element of danger and caution, especially for obtaining those more powerful items. The setup is pretty much the same as with the random contents, except we add fire traps under the branches. Well, not fire trap for number 1, and then ice for number 2, and poison for number 3. And then you would display the animation, reduce the HP for each by say 20. SGB doesn't have the feature to affect the entire party, so if you want other party members to be affected as well, you'll have to do this for each one. And then you display a message, something like, "Ugh, a fire trap." Same with the ice trap. And then for the poison trap, it's the same as before, but you would put an inflict, cure abnormal statuses, in this case poison, and you'd inflict it. It's under stats and items, and then give an optional HP decrease, another message, and that's it. If you want different items as before, you can just place them underneath each one of these branches. If not, then it'll go to the end of the branching, which is also where the additional item and the local switch is off. It switches on, as well as changing the graphics and so on. You can also add a few other things here, such as evasion for dodging the traps, or a disarm skill, which again I'll cover later. If the player doesn't have a key, they'll have the option to open the chest with a lockpick, which can be bought in a store, found in other chests, given by an NPC, or as a monster drop. Of course, factor into the equation the possibility that the lockpick will break. If you run out of lockpicks before you've managed to open it, the chest will remain locked. If, however, the lock is successfully picked, then the chest will open and reveal its contents. There are two methods for this. The first is a simple randomized routine activated after some lockpicks are in the player's inventory, and the second is based on a lockpicking skill. Now I'll address the first one first and the second one a bit later. Just display the message that the chest is locked and ask if you want to pick it. Display a selection, given yes or no. You can leave no blank or put a message somewhere, doesn't matter. I just kept it blank. Under yes, we check if at least one lockpick is held in the inventory. then if the lockpick isn't added, display the message you don't have any lockpicks. Under the yes, create a random number between 1 and 3 or whatever you want, and then we have more box checks for the variables. If random equals 1, you pick the lock and obtain the contents as normal, including turning the local switch on. If random equals 2, just simply message you failed to pick the lock. If random equals 3, the lockpick broke, and then subtract 1 from the number of lockpicks held. Final Fantasy and several other RPGs has a no doubt recognizable monster in a box scenario where a monster hides in a chest and pops out to attack as soon as the chest is opened. In Skyrim, they're hiding in barrels and pop out when they're approached. SGB already has a preset for this, which is treasure chest, a battle starts after the player, blah 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 blah, and that's all you need. So it's really just a matter of using it and tweaking its settings. The chests can contain higher level items such as weapons or armor, which are only accessible when the player reaches a certain level. If the character is the required level, the chest can be opened and a level based weapon or armor or even an item can be obtained. What I've done for this part is simply set up 3 levels, and depending on the level, an item is obtained. So first of all, in the advanced variable box, assign the variable to character information and choose level or LV. After the event animation to open the chest, this is where we put the contents, and then we put each one. It's 3 variable box checks. If the level is 1, then just add a knife with the appropriate obtained text, knife obtained. If the level is this should be 2, so it would work. Add a poison dagger, and if the level is 3, give a spiked shield as the reward. And then right at the end of the branches, turn a local switch on. Another way of doing this is giving players a mediocre item if the chest is opened before a certain level, but a quality item after that level. Once again, we use the advanced variable box to set the character's level, and then instead of having specific levels, we've chosen level 4, and it would be greater than level 5. So under yes, if the character level is below 4 or below, then give them a knife. If the character's level is 5 or above at the time of opening the chest, then we can give them an ice sword. And I should change this as well. That's some potent knife. So an ice sword is obtained. You can also add another one here. Say just copy and paste this. So say if the character level is 10 or above, then we can give another, like a really powerful thing. Let's go for armor. I don't know what. We might as well go for a thunder axe because I like thunder. Thunder axe obtained. And that way, if the player waits until level 10 to open it, rather than opening it at lower levels, they'll receive something much, much better. Also on the RPG Maker Times blog, as an extra chapter, is opening the chest from the front. I've already covered this in tutorial 14, player direction, so won't cover it here. The link to that part will be in the description anyway. Now, since you can obtain random items from chests, you should also be able to obtain random amounts of gold. Unfortunately, in SGB, it isn't possible, because with the increase and decrease money, it's you can't assign variables directly here. It's an absolute or a fixed amount only, and this applies to many of the other input boxes in SGB as well. This would certainly be a nice feature to have, but for now there's no way around it. And it looks like we are just about out of time, so this concludes part 1 of the chess edition of the tips and tricks tutorial. If you found this video useful, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for notifications of future tutorials. You can also visit me on Twitter and Facebook, sometimes with unique content, including things for RPG Maker, or visit the SGB subsite I created. Next week's tutorial will be part 2 of this one, where I'll cover things like a lock-picking skill, evasion for avoiding traps on chests, defeat all monsters before the chest is revealed, and more. In the meantime, that's it for now. Until the next time, thanks for watching.